When it comes to the learnings, we had plenty. However, let me talk about the key learnings that we had that might be useful for anyone who decides to shoot under the water in a swimming pool. Because we didn't have a full test day on location where we would be able to switch off the light, to set up our light, and to set up the backdrop, then we were not quite precisely imagining which look the final scene will have. And that's why when we arrived on the shoot day, we have realized a couple of things. Thing number one, we should have used more backdrop. We had a very limited amount of backdrop, and we were able to cover the fraction of the floor, of the swimming pool floor, by this backdrop. However, what we didn't do, we didn't cover the walls, and we also had a couple of meters before the spot, the shoot spot, which was also just a bare swimming pool floor. And so what happens when you switch off the light completely and you switch on the key light is that this key light is getting reflected by these walls around the setup. And this creates this uncontrollable light and flicker that can be visible on the actress, and that we had to heavily work on at the post-production phase. And that's another learning, that even though the setup was quite close to the natural environment and it looked wonderful with the resources that we had, however, at the same time, we really had to do an extensive color grading to really bring it to a perfect result. We were working in DaVinci Resolve, and it was a lot of masking, a lot of adjustments, and a lot of background darkening and play with the brightness of the scene. What we also didn't know is that to set up the scene, to set up this underwater backdrop is quite a tricky process. It's really demanding, time demanding, and also effort demanding. And if you are not having the air tanks on you while setting up the backdrop and also putting the weights so to keep it fixed, then it's quite a physical exercise to go down and up every time to set up every meter of the set. So buoyancy was another big learning. That is something I didn't know before, and I was mainly judging from my own experience and the experience of me swimming in the water, how quickly you go down to the bottom of the water or how quickly you go up. However, in the end, I discovered that each and every body has a different buoyancy, a different tendency to float, to sink, and all that needs to be considered in such intense shoot. Because if you're not using a stunt double, then the actors, the actresses who are performing all the choreography, it's quite a physical exercise for them. So that is something important to consider when you're writing the script, when you're developing the choreography. It's important to know what the person is capable of, what the person feels comfortable with, and of course, don't push the boundaries of your actors and actresses.